Hey, it's Nay. And welcome back to Nay's Little Garden and Home. Y'all, it's July. How we got here already, I don't know. At this point, we're starting to think about fall crops. I know, what is going on, guys? Summer actually just for real started, and we have to start thinking about fall. I know. First things first, the tomatoes. You can, in fact, potentially get fall crop of tomatoes. Now, I did already start putting in my fall tomatoes. I do have some, okay? I have some still that I have to plant out, and I gotta hop, skip, jump back into this. So I live in zone 6, and I have about 102-ish, a little bit more than 100 days of frost free. That does not mean it is optimal, okay? That just means that at least, well, let's be real, the next 60 to 70 days is definitely warm, for sure. Really, really warm. Let's say about 70 days. And then it starts to drop down, but not too rapidly. But the most important thing that happens is daylight starts shrinking. Now, when I say that, please don't get too concerned. Like I said, summer did just start. So you have some time. However, not time for certain things, certain varieties, certain ones with days to maturity. If the days to maturity are in the hundreds and you have 100 days, just know that because we're on the decline, the closer we get to that decline, the more time your plants are going to need than it actually says, because they're going at optimal timing. So, outside of the tomatoes, the best thing to do is you can't really start any tomatoes from seed for most of us. What you would do is break off some tomatoes, branches from your already growing tomatoes. So you'll have the main leader stem, okay? And then you're going to have this stem that's growing leaf foliage for this plant to take in sugars, the energy from the sun. And between these two, you'll have another one. This is what you want to snap off. This is a whole nother production of a potential main leader. So if you snap this off, you can do one of two things. I only do the second thing, but I do believe the first could be useful. Put it in water, okay? Give it a few days. You're gonna see it sprout some tiny roots. Plant it at that point. I just go ahead and put her right into the soil. That's option 2, and she will start growing. She will do the same thing for the most part that your others will do. You'll give a couple days of what is going on, okay? And then she will start to grow. I've already got some plants just growing because for some of us, we took out our cool weather crops because it's getting too hot. The space that your cool weather crops took over is the spot you can now put in your fall tomatoes. Now on to the other fall crops. These are things I will in fact be planting for my fall harvest. Lettuce. It's too hot, where I'm at least, to really get tasty lettuce. It's starting to bolt. I have one more lettuce that is growing upright that I really need to pick. And because I like to drench my stuff in dressing, I'm sure she'll be fine. But this is just a free lettuce pack that I got. You can really truly use any lettuce, but this is just fine. The next would be kale. Kale is delicious. The kale is still kaling in my garden. She's growing, it's fresh, it's pretty good, honestly. But this is the blue Scotch curled kale. This is a cold weather kale. The kale I believe I have is doing so well in this warmer weather that I feel like it's more suited to warmer weather. It has, so this is saying, thrives in partial shade, cool springs, and can even withstand several inches of snow after the hard autumn frost. Kale is absolutely delicious if you toss some olive oil, a little salt, and put it in the oven. It is also extremely delicious and nutrient. Tossing in any soups, stews, and honestly, vegetables that you steam with some seasoning. So in the colder weather and you're making your soups and stews, tossing some kale in there is gonna be good. So I would go ahead and put this. This is about 60 days. So it says 55, so I would say 60 to 65 days if you're gonna plant this at the end of July, if you're in like a zone. Look at your first harvest, your first frost, and go from there. Like work backwards from there and maybe add a few days for sugars and gigs, because let's just make sure. What's great about this is the kale will, as it said, it will survive several inches of snow. So you'll be able to harvest this multiple times, and you can go on a website like Amazon and get you a little $20 frost fabric to extend it even more. A lot of people, you'll find, just because your first frost comes does not mean it actually stays very cold. You might find September, October, and even the beginning parts of November is just getting brisk, and you will still be able to harvest cool weather crops. You throw a little row cover over it, December might come, and maybe the beginning of January to the middle of January, and you're still harvesting. I'm telling you. Next is this Belstar broccoli. I had a really good broccoli, a spring harvest. I am gonna grow more. So I ordered this and it came in already. So I ordered my garlic for the fall. Garlic is also something you wanna think about, depending on your zone and stuff like that, planting in the fall to harvest in the summer. Yes, you heard that right, girl, 9 months. Yes, girl, 9 months, but it's good and there's not much you need to do for it. The one most important thing I feel like you need to do for garlic is in fact get you some type of protection for it, because the squirrels will fight you. You will come outside, there'll be holes all up in there and they digging through your garlic, trying to eat up the little cloves that you plant. I get the little chicken wire, put it right over the raised bed, and it seems to stop them. I am going to be harvesting my garlic soon enough. You plant it and you just kind of let it rock. If it feels like it gets a little too hot at one point, you do a little water on it. But it's really one of the easiest plants to grow is some garlic. So I ordered the garlic that will come in the fall. I don't believe it's all of my garlic. I low-key, high-key want to plant out that entire 8x4 foot raised bed with garlic. I want enough garlic because right now I would say I have about 40 to 50 cloves of garlic. We will see how long that lasts me fall and winter. There are 52 weeks in the year. If I use 2 every week, now we're looking at I needed 104 and I have 50. And this is obviously that's for the whole year I'm talking about. So it should, in theory, get me through fall and winter. Here's where it gets a little dicey. I do, in fact, like sharing my produce with people I love. Yeah. So I would love to be able to have a little basket. Oh my gosh, wait, pause. I am going to show you my new baskets. So here it is. I got this from Costco, and it's actually 2 baskets. They're mesh baskets, but they're metal mesh. It says for indoor use only, but I'm not intending to leave them outdoors. I'm assuming for rusting purposes, they want to avoid that. But this is not to be left outside like that. And if I do end up rinsing my produce, I will dry this immediately. But they feel quite sturdy and they are a good size. So these 2 will be some of my garden harvest baskets. I'm gonna start out with these 2 because they were like $25, $30 for the 2 of them, which is a great price. I don't know if you've looked up baskets so you can harvest your produce and seen the price of them. They're insane. Yeah, so very excited about these, and I should be harvesting my garlic and onions soon. I'm gonna come back in about a week or 2, and I think that I can pull them out. I'm really trying to use those raised beds for most of my cool weather crops, And that's that. So this says frost tolerant, 65 to 70 days for this broccoli. Sow in early spring or late summer. So I'm going to start this in July. So in the next week or two, right? In July, I'm going to start these and then they'll go out beginning of August. Recommended when to start inside. Recommended 4 to 6 weeks before your average last frost date. Transplant 1 to 2 weeks before your average last frost date. It says that. I'm concerned about that. So I'm probably going to do 2 flushes of this. One, like I just said, which is at the end of the middle of July. So the next week or two, I'm going to start these inside. And then I'll start another flush 2 weeks after that. So I might get 2 flushes of broccoli. How many seeds are in here? I'm saying all of this and I'm not even sure how many seeds. Oh, 25. That's perfectly fine. So let's say I do 6 and 6. I'm very excited. My broccoli was so delicious and they grew so well. So broccoli is something that you want to look into. I believe cauliflower is also that. The broccoli is just delicious, delicious. I am going to attempt some cabbage. So this is also cold tolerant. There are 300 seeds in this. I might have this for the next 4 years because at 300 seeds and I want to grow, let's say 4 or 5 cabbage heads. Let's say that an even number of 4. And I sprinkle about triple that every time I go to try to start these. Let's just say 6. Let's just say I start about 16 of these to plant out 4 because we don't know if all of them are going to sprout. And that's a high number. I feel like I won't start that many, but they're small, so who knows. 16 every, let's say twice a year, because let's say I end up enjoying this cabbage and I want to do it in the springtime as well. These are going to be here for a long time. These are not massive, they're more compact, which is one of the reasons I picked this. I really don't want any massive cabbage. We are not really the biggest cabbage eaters as of right now. I am trying to change that. I have no issues with coleslaw. I love me some kimchi. I like some stuff that has cabbage in it. And steamed cabbage with some carrots and stuff like that. Like, I like it. I just haven't made it personally. And I want to get better at that because I heard fermenting this stuff is, I mean, it's just really good for you. So I can make it tasty. It says here it's a popular heirloom variety known for its compact round heads and sweet tender flavor. This early maturing cabbage is ideal for small gardens. Producing 3 to 4 pound heads in about 65 to 75 days. The heads are dense and firm with tightly packed pale green leaves that are perfect for fresh salads, coleslaw, and cooking. Resistant to splitting, its small size makes it an excellent choice for gardeners with limited space, and its reliable, uniform growth ensures a bountiful harvest of flavorful, crisp cabbage. We're going to see what happens. This says it starts indoors 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost, but I'm sure I can attempt this before your last frost, like the fall. So we're going to see how that goes because it's frost tolerant. And what's really cool about a lot of plants that we're discussing, they'll get even sweeter. See, the thing about plants, once you start gardening, you come to realize a plant in distress during harvest time oftentimes is a better tasting plant because the distress causes the plant to really concentrate sugars. So like when it comes to freezing and the plant wants to try to avoid freezing in order to make seeds, it is going to pull the sugars in to try to keep it warm. That's why fall harvest carrots are so delicious. The next here, this is another kale I'm going to be starting. This is the dwarf Siberian kale. It's just another look to the kale. Tasty Russian variety produces slightly frilled leaves of top quality, compact plants, hardy and productive. Best grown in frosts of spring or fall. So these I might attempt to grow direct sow as well as definitely indoors. I'm gonna grow those as well. Beets. I have here the Bettina beets. Look how dark and rich those are. I do in fact want to attempt to roast some beets. Now, I have no issue. People say that beets have a sweetness to them, especially when you're harvesting for the cool weather. I have zero issue roasting them in the oven with some salt, pepper, and some brown sugar on it. I need to first get myself to like it. I love drinking my beets, but I want to get to the point I like eating them as well because they're just good for you. Big, round, deep purple roots are everything a beet should be. Selected from the classic Detroit dark red, Bettina is packed with antioxidants and sweet flavor. Harvest small or let them bulk up without losing their fine flavor and texture. I'll probably do both. There's 100 seeds in here. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably do a flush. And these are ones that I'll put directly out. So let's say they need 70 days. Let's see. This doesn't tell me. So I have to look this up. But I feel like a lot of the beets are about 70 to 75 days. So let's say I put them out in the garden in the beginning of August. That gives me all of August, all of September. And then in the beginning of October, even before my first frost, I might pick up some to juice. And then I'll pick some again after that first harvest, that first frost, when they've sweetened up even more, to go ahead and attempt to consume these. I feel like I'll be pretty good about it. Now, I even see that people could do like beet chickpea dip, which sounds, I've seen the coloring. It's beautiful. It's like a pinkish color. That might be really good because I love me some chickpea dip. Lastly, I have here carrots. Carrots. I will be planting a lot of carrots. Yeah, I only have a few for the summer. We're not going to get into in this video what happened, but I will be planting a bunch for the fall to try and store for the fall and the winter. One thing about it, two things for sure, some of these produce does in fact last an extremely long time. And you wouldn't know that buying them from the grocery store, because, right, you buy them and within a week or two, they start rotting in your fridge, maybe 3 weeks. What's interesting is a lot of the produce that they do keep delivering to your grocery store, not all, but a good amount, have in fact already been stored in their warehouses before they even came to the grocery store. So the clock has been running on them. Carrots is something I was shocked to hear could last a while. I went and got fresh carrots from my local greenhouse last year, and they were in my fridge a month and a half, and they were still extremely firm. I was in there like, since when does carrots last this long? And that's a thing because they were fresh. They actually harvested them and then put them for sale. They didn't put them in a warehouse and then slowly, let's say they harvest thousands of carrots in one go. They're only sending, let's say they sell hundreds, and so they can keep sending that out, right? I'm very excited for that. Now, one thing to understand when trying to grow carrots for storage, the skinny or super small skinny carrots don't last. Those are ones you want to eat fresh. Any damaged carrots, you want to eat them quickly. You want thicker carrots. Those will store well. So I have here the Chantenay Red Core. Large stump-rooted carrot with deep red-orange centers, great for juicing or fresh eating, one of the sweetest varieties. I also like juicing my carrots. This will also be just fine to roast and bake. This is the Oxheart carrot. This is one of those OG carrots that back in the day, before we had proper like cooling systems, like refrigerators and stuff, this is what they were actually growing, or something along this. It's 90 days, so this is a long time. Known as Guérande in France, introduced in the US in the late 19th century, massive heart-shaped roots to 1 pound each. Despite their massive size, the brilliant orange roots are crisp, sweet, and mild. Great keeper. The thing about growing different varieties of things, you want to try to differentiate and remember which ones are actually for storage. Did you know there are tomatoes for storage? And I'm not saying just 1 or 2 weeks, which there are tomatoes that will say, oh, they last longer on your counter, meaning for 2 weeks, they're not going to rot, which is still pretty impressive. There are tomatoes that you can, in fact, grow to leave for a month or 3. Yes, I am growing that, if you're wondering. We're going to see together. That is some of the tomatoes I'll be planting out. I planted out like 1 or 2 already, and I'll be planting out the remainder within the next week to get as close to fall as possible and be able to still harvest to store. I didn't want to plant that out a month ago because if I'm harvesting in, let's say, end of July to end of August, it still has September and October before I really got my frost, which means I'm already using up a month and a half of the storage before we even get through real fall and winter. You feel me? And yes, you can, and yes, you can freeze. And yes, I am going to do both. However, I want to see how it goes about actually leaving them out to get that fresh tomato flavor. Sounds great. But anyway, this is what I would probably be attempting to go ahead and store the most. And I chose these 2 because due to the picture and what I've seen, they do look different. This is much fatter and shorter. This is long and thick. So I'll be able to know, go ahead and use these first and then use this because this is supposed to be a great keeper. And my goal is the entirety of the rest of the year, I will have carrots. So let's say I'm harvesting carrots come September, like end of September into like mid-October, like end of September to end of October, because they will handle frosts and you can pull them before you get like the super hard frosts. I should be able to November and December never buy a carrot. And come December, beginning of December, whatever, I should be able to then freeze a good chunk of this to get through the entirety of January. If I can get through the entirety of January and never have to worry about buying carrots, I will consider that a win. A win is a win is a win. I went real quick, so those are the fall ones, but there are other plants that you should have already planted that will be fall harvests, right? So some of them could be like potatoes. I really need to plant out the remainder of my potatoes. So long story short, I'm going to be growing less tomatoes next year in grow bags because I had more raised beds that I had bought this year. So I really didn't need to take up all the grow bags that I did. And so I could put more grow bags towards potatoes. I think I need to have 7 to 10 grow bags of just potatoes. I want to get serious about storing my potatoes. What could that look like? There's 5 people in the household. The 10 is really the number I'm aiming for because I'm looking for 2 bags per person. That will not get us through fall and winter. We like potatoes in this household. We are more potato and like bread people than rice people, although we do also eat rice. I just want to make sure there's options when it comes to the carb/starchy foods. So knowing that 2 bags per person should grow us a decent amount of potatoes will make me happy. I was watching the Yellow Door Urban Homesteader. Sis, I think said she had like 16 bags of potatoes. Maybe I'm mixing up people, but someone I just watched said that, and I was like, 16 bags of potatoes. Now, to be fair, I think she had smaller bags. I'm trying to I grow for the most part in 20-gallon grow bags, but if I can do 7 to 10 next year, I feel like I'll have a better amount of potatoes, and then I can really gauge what my basement, because I don't have a root cellar, so I can really gauge what my basement can do in terms of helping keep things cool to last. I need to know that I could comfortably go ahead and store my root crops in my basement and I will have my husband build like, you know, a little contraption with like little baskets to help keep them going, so that for the fall and winter, I will have things in my house and I'm shopping in my basement, if that makes sense. It's kind of like my end result goal. I don't need to 365 days, like never ever buy anything ever again from the grocery store, but I want to grow a healthy chunk of our produce that we do consume. Because I just don't have the space to grow chicken quantities where I can have for eggs and for meat birds. And now, yeah, we got 50 meat birds in our freezer. I don't have the yard space for that. And so that will be something I will need to be buying. So that let's make sure the produce can take up a lot of that, and the fruits or whatever. But yes, that is where I'm going with that, with the potatoes. And then next is sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes is also something you're gonna do like almost like a fall harvest, or right before your first frost, right, type of harvest. I have 2 bags of sweet potatoes, and then I went ahead and I put 2 sweet potato slips into my raised bed that I pulled out, that got attacked with a bunch of weeds, and so I never got to plant it out. My husband pulled out all those weeds, and I put this 2 sweet potato slips in there. One died off, one is growing. There are fresh sets of leaves on it, and so I'm interested to see what the sweet potatoes in the grow bags look like in comparison to the sweet potato in that, and there's only one in that raised bed. There are 2 tomato plants with it, and then the rest of that raised bed is just for that one sweet potato slip. I'm having a feeling those sweet potatoes in the raised bed are gonna be bigger. I grew sweet potatoes last year. They came out fine. They tasted good. They did not come out thick. They came out a little slimmer. I think part of that is I did in fact harvest too early, because I've seen people grow sweet potatoes in grow bags, and they come out thick. Mine were like this thick, so I was like, ugh, but they were good. So I'm thinking, one, I did a better job, like the leaf growth on my sweet potatoes is better this year. And the one in the raised bed is just gonna have a lot more space. So I'm thinking, even if it only grows 5 sweet potatoes, the sweet potatoes are gonna be like this, I'm hoping, and I'm gonna keep fertilizing. Anyway, let's talk down in the comment section about your fall garden. Like, what are you planning to grow for your fall garden? Because there are a bunch of things you can grow for your fall garden. I just think about what we're going to actually consume, and not just me, but also my kids and husband. So there's certain things that just come out like, no. Because I know I could have started Brussels sprouts. I could have had them in my garden. 1, I failed last year. I'm not sure what went wrong. But 2, we're not Brussels sprouts people. I like Brussels sprouts, especially cooked in bacon grease with some bacon bits in it. My kids are not a fan, and my husband's not a fan. So that's just like a waste to grow it, especially with the amount of time the Brussels sprouts need. But yeah, that could be something. There's a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching this whole video. Please don't forget to hit that like button, that subscribe button, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.